Carl, what have you done?
Think anyone will notice? Mr. Carl Jackson, right?
Carl Jackson was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. After the sudden death of his mother at the age of 11, he moved between LA and Orlando, Florida, trying to find his way in life.
So I'm clearly a Carl Jackson fan.
Carl Jackson.
Carl Jackson.
Carl Jackson.
Although he was introduced to hard work, faith, and family values, as a struggling teen, he wandered down the path of least resistance, finding himself jailed twice. By the grace of God, he attended an evangelical church and found that there was a better way and accepted Jesus Christ as his Savior.
There's just no fake stuff about Carl Jackson.
Now, on the Salem Podcast Network, Carl has launched on a journey to help people of all races and backgrounds to discover facts of America's true past, as well as realize the benefits of utilizing their God-given gifts and talents, which far outweigh any benefit from a government subsidy or program.
Real dangerous out here. Let's roll, Carl.
Get going fast.
Redeemed, rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
This wasn't like my legislation. Like, I have certain big priorities that we did. This is something the legislature felt strong about. So I start getting asked about this by the media, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, they're getting spun up. I see you know how this works, right? And I was like, there is no way it's true. And I didn't even look at the bill yet. I just knew it wasn't true. And so you actually look at the bill, and it says no sexual instruction in grades pre-K through 3. And so how many parents want their kindergartners to have transgenderism or something injected into classroom instruction? And so I think those are very young kids. I think the legislature is basically trying to give parents assurance that, you know, they're going to be able to go and this stuff's not going to be there. But there's nothing in the bill that says anything about you can't say or this say. It's basically saying for our youngest students, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6 years and 7, do you really want them to be being taught about sex? And this is any sexual stuff, but I think clearly right now we see a lot of focus on the transgenderism, telling kids that they may be able to pick genders and all that. I don't think parents want that for these young kids, and so I think that's what they were trying to do. Now, and I think that's justifiable. I think it's inappropriate to be injecting those matters like a transgenderism into a kindergarten classroom.
Okay, so that was Governor Ron DeSantis just speaking common sense when it comes to Florida's HB 1557, which just passed. Thank God. So listen, I want to talk to you about this bill. I felt like this was something that was really on my heart and mind. I spoke about it on Larry Elder's show a couple of weeks ago. I think I briefly mentioned it the last time I was on as well. But I just think this is a very important topic for us to combat. I think, listen, Republicans, conservatives, people of faith, Christian, Catholic, Jew, we have to be in the fight against the culture. And this bill, HB 1557, is what I would call a good start. So let me tell you what's in the bill, and shortly we'll play another audio clip for you. But this hat tip to, I'm not sure who wrote this, Daily Wire, Florida's LGBTQ bill is being wildly misrepresented. Here are the facts. All right, so Florida's HB 1557 has drawn heavy fire from the LGBTQ barbecue community, media, and the Democrats. And by the way, listen, I don't mean to be disrespectful to lesbian gays, but I'm so sick and tired of all of these people trying to constantly add to the LGBTQ plus whatever. I believe that there are lesbian and gay people. I believe that bisexuals are confused. I believe that transgenders suffer from gender dysphoria. I believe that people that are questioning whether or not they're homosexual are heterosexual. And I think the plus is just used for Democrats to try to gain another victim group. And I'm not going to play their game. It isn't that I disrespect people. It's not that I disrespect sexual orientation, preferences, whatever, whether I agree or not. I'm not going to play the left-wing game. Let me go on. News outlets like CNN call HB 1557 the Don't Say Gay bill. This is very important. Words matter. Rhetoric matters. How you frame issues matter. The left gets this overwhelmingly. It's what they do. They're good at framing issues. They're good at telling stories. As conservatives, we suck at that. We are getting better thanks to people like Daily Wire, thanks to the PragerUs of the world, thanks to The Blaze, thanks to my colleagues in podcasting and talk radio. I think we're getting better at this, but we're not there yet. Hence, we've fallen prey to the rhetoric, don't say gay bill. But I digress. So again, news outlets like CNN call HB 1557 the don't say gay bill in copy, and critics of the legislation accuse Republicans of endangering the LGBTQ youth by outing them to their parents or preventing them from learning about their sexuality. So by outing them to their parents, the people that raised them, the people that actually gave birth, the woman that actually gave birth to them. This is complete nonsense. So Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, my governor, thank God, and his team have repeatedly pushed back on this framing. As recently as Monday, the governor tore into a reporter for misrepresenting the bill during a press briefing. Here's what the governor had to say in that exchange.
Parental rights and education, what critics call the Don't Say Gay bill, is on the Senate floor.
Does it say that in the bill?
Know that you support.
Does it say that in the bill?
I'm
asking you to tell me what's in the bill, because you are pushing false narratives. It doesn't matter what critics say.
Hold on, it says it bans classroom instruction on sexual identity and gender orientation.
For who? For grades pre-K through 3. So 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and the idea that you wouldn't be honest about that and tell people what it actually says, it's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives. And so we disabuse you of those narratives. And we're going to make sure that parents are able to send their kid to kindergarten without having some of this stuff injected into their school curriculum.
Okay, so that was Governor Ron DeSantis setting the record straight. He's getting really good at doing that, praise God. So I love him because he's a fighter. He says what he means what he says. He follows through on his promises. Very rare politician. So thank God for people like him. But here's the issue. Here's what I think Republicans need to start framing bills like this as. It's time for us to put these little, and I'm going to get to what's actually in the bill here, but it's time for us to put the left on the defense. I don't understand why we're not calling this the anti-child sex grooming bill, because that's what it is. That's what it is. It's anti-child grooming. We should all be against that. And anyone who is for that, I believe, is complicit in sexual abuse of a minor. And that includes teachers who we're supposed to trust our children to. I'm so sick of this, with this total abandonment of God and welcoming of total chaos in our society is insane. We need some things that work in order for civilization to survive. We need some traditionalism in order for civilization to survive. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to be mean, but last I heard, homosexuals cannot have kids. All right? There's some things that are important to make sure we maintain in order to maintain a civilized society. And I'm not knocking you. I'm not knocking you. I don't care. I don't want to think about your sexual orientation all the time. I don't want it in my face all the time. I don't want to care. Stop pushing it on me. It's amazing. I see this LGBTQ, the activists of the community. I guess they feel so small. I don't know. They find their value in worth and who they sleep with. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. If everyone is to be equal, if everyone is to be normal, I don't go around, I'm heterosexual. Who cares? It's none of your business. And your business is none of my business. Stop throwing it in our face. But beyond that, stop sexually abusing our children. This is sick. I don't know how else to say it. This is sick. So the bill is in response to an influx of gender ideology and sexual orientation content that's been found across classrooms, classrooms across the nation, if you will. It's been exposed by conservative grassroots organizations and news outlets like Parents Defending Education. So critics have most notably taken issue with the bill's statement that, quote, classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. Okay. Let me listen. Good start. I got to beat up on conservatives a little bit too. This bill doesn't go far enough. I appreciate it. Good start. All right. Kudos. Good start. The bill doesn't go far enough. Why should teachers that should be teaching reading, writing, arithmetic so our students in the United States can compete with the rest of the world or even compete with their peers, why should they be learning this stuff in school, not just from kindergarten through third grade? As teachers, as educators, you have no business telling a kid what to do from the entire time, quite frankly, that they're in, K through 12, in my opinion. Who's to say? I don't know what your relationships are like. I don't know what you're into. I don't know what your value system is. I don't know if you've even been successful at relationships. How is it that maybe a male female, a traditional marriage, maybe a couple is sending a child to school, they've been successful in their relationships, maybe you've been through 20 in the last 3 years, and you're supposed to be the arbiter of truth when it comes to sexuality and relationships, and it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And again, we're talking about third graders. You have no business telling our kids about any of this stuff. We can do that. Kids have a way of figuring stuff out too, but parents can help with that. You guys should be doing your job to make our kids smarter, not to make them horny. It's freaking sad. It's just a shame. And Republicans, I don't know why we don't go for the gusto and keep pushing the issue. Reading, writing, arithmetic, not booty calls and oral sex to little, kindergartners, kids in kindergarten and through third grade. And so this is crazy. So the columnist goes on, students in kindergarten are typically 5 years old, while third graders generally are 8 or 9 years old. This, according to the CDC, a child usually can follow rules or take turns playing games with other children by 5 years old. That 5-year-old may sing, dance, do simple chores like matching socks or clearing the table. And let me say this, for those of us that don't buy into everything the CDC says, when you start reading and playing games and stuff like that with your kids even earlier, guess what? They can develop these skills even earlier if you're a good parent. The child may tell a story that he or she heard, answer simple questions, maintain a simple conversation, count to 10, use words like yesterday, tomorrow, morning, or night, and hop on one foot. So the word gay is nowhere in the legislation. The columnist goes on to say, nowhere in the legislation is the word gay mentioned. The word parent, quote unquote, is mentioned 32 times, and the word parental is mentioned 7 times. The legislation heavily focuses on parental notification and parental awareness of what children are being taught or exposed to in their school. There's a heavy emphasis on parental notification. As a matter of fact, HB 1557 requires that district school boards adopt procedures that, quote, comport with certain provisions of law for notifying a student's parent or specified information. The bill requires that these procedures also reinforce the fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding the upbringing and control of their children. Now, I want you to think about this. Think about that. This should tell you all you need to know about the left regarding this case. Isn't it amazing that the left are these strong opponents for abortion, or they're pro-choice or what have you? So it's like they don't want to have kids, or they want to abort their kids, and then they want to control yours. Which is it? Seriously, which is it? This makes no sense. If you want to brainwash a kid, have a freaking kid. This makes no sense to me. The bill also prohibits any school procedures from impeding, and I quote, a parent from accessing certain records, encouraging a student to withhold such information from a parent, or discouraging parental notification in critical decisions involving a student's, quote, mental, emotional, or physical well-being. Also, adopt procedures for notifying a student's parent if there is a change in the student's services or monitoring related to the student's mental, their emotional, or physical health or well-being, and the school's ability to provide a safe and supportive learning environment for the student. So they need to adopt some procedures for telling the parents what's going on with their kids while they're in these schools, government schools that they help pay for, and the salaries of which they help pay. The bill also says the procedures must reinforce the fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding the upbringing and control of their children by requiring school district personnel to encourage the student to discuss issues relating to his or her well-being with his or her parent, or to facilitate discussion of the issue with the parent. Also, the bill says such procedures may not impede parents from, quote, accessing any of their students' education and health records created, maintained, or used by the school district. The bill goes on. A school district may not adopt procedures or student support forms that prohibit school district personnel from notifying a parent about his or her student's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being, or a change in related services or monitoring, or that encourage or have the effect of encouraging a student to withhold from a parent such information. And I think that's when it becomes really dangerous. You could put children in a very precarious situation. I'm sorry. Imagine a little boy going to a grown behind man that may be attracted to little boys, or you never know. And this child comes to this man and starts talking about this stuff. Or maybe even it's a woman that in her head is 13 years old. I don't know. A lot of these teachers act like this nowadays. And maybe this woman starts getting, I don't know, aroused, talking to a little boy or a little girl. Who knows? Why would you even be willing to put a child in that situation where they would be able or allowed to keep a sexual secret? A child keep a sexual secret with a grown adult. That is nasty. That is disgusting. That is evil. That is despicable. And if you support this, you're a despicable person. I'm seeing people like one of our representatives here, Carlos Guillermo Smith, support this nonsense. Speak out, or not support it, oppose it. Oh, don't say gay bill. Don't say gay bill. Again, just a liar. The bill does not mention the word gay. This is about parental control of their kids, parents' control of their kids, having a say-so of what their kids are learning in school, in the schools, government schools that they pay for. It's really as simple as that. And people that are opposed to this are participants or complicit in my opinion, child sex grooming and even more. This is sick. The bill continues. School district personnel may not discourage or prohibit parental notification of and involvement in critical decisions affecting a student's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being, though it does note that the school may adopt procedures that permit the school to withhold information if, quote, a reasonably prudent person would believe that disclosure would result in abuse, abandonment, or neglect. Now, I think this is where Republicans get it wrong. This is my disappointment and my frustration with Republicans. We go weak. Now, what you're doing is opening a door or leaving a door open up for interpretation for these people. So when you say, quote, a reasonably prudent person would believe, it notes that the school may adopt procedures that permit the school to withhold information from parents. Why would you ever say that, Republicans? If a reasonably prudent person would believe that disclosure would result in abuse, abandonment, or neglect. Now you have to think of left-wingers. What is their definition of abuse, abandonment, or neglect? Is their definition of abuse telling a child that traditional marriage is okay? This is where Republicans frustrate me every single time. Be strong. The left never shies away from what they believe until it's election season. Then they try to run away from it. But before then, when they're trying to impose stuff on us, they don't shy away from it. Republicans, let's do the right thing a little bit. No, let's go all the way. Let's just do the right thing. So at the beginning of the school year, school districts must notify parents of all healthcare services offered at their child's school, which I do think is a good thing, and give parents the ability to opt out or decline any specific service. Also, and I quote, parental consent to a healthcare service does not waive the parent's right to access his or her student's educational or health records to be notified about a change in his or her student's services or monitoring as provided by the paragraph. Lastly, the school district must also provide health screening forms or questionnaires to parents before administering them to students. The legislation provides detailed explanations of what recourses parents have if their school district is not following the letter of the law in these matters. I do feel like Republicans gave them an out, but nonetheless, I do believe this is a good start. So kudos to Governor DeSantis for signing it. I got to say, the Republican legislature here is somewhat disappointing. We have a great governor, but we have a pretty weak need leadership as far as the Florida legislature is concerned. Hopefully we'll get some stronger conservatives in our state legislature. But suffice to say, or at least, let me just say this, at least, again, this is a good start. But a couple of takeaways that I do want to remind you of. Let's learn how to reframe issues. So when the left comes at us and says, this is a don't say gay bill, no, sir, no, ma'am. Actually, this is an anti-child sex grooming bill. Why do you want to sexually groom children? Put the onus on them to defend their perverted positions. All right. And also, the bill doesn't go far enough. Republicans, go for the gusto. Our culture is at stake. Our country is at stake. Our Constitution is at stake. We're not dealing with everyday Democrats anymore. The left has managed to radicalize even many of their voters. All right. And then again, we have to keep this in mind. The left seems to want to abort their own kids, yet they want to control yours. They can't have it both ways. All right. You want to brainwash a kid, have your own freaking kid. Let's be sure to make these type of arguments to the left. But I wanted to clear up this bill. I wanted to talk about it. I am happy that it is a good start. These are the type of fights, cultural fights, that I think we need to begin taking to the left, and we shouldn't be ashamed of them. We shouldn't be afraid of them. The left aren't afraid of their positions. We should not be afraid of ours. This is still the United States of America unless we choose to give it up. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to today's edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, please be sure to follow me on Facebook, Carl Jackson Radio, Twitter, and Parler at Carl Jackson Show. And don't just like the podcast, please share the podcast. Please subscribe. You can go to Apple, you can go to Google, you can go to Spotify, you can go to Rumble, YouTube, wherever podcasts are found. Click on the bell at YouTube, get the notifications. But please don't just listen. Please be more of an activist. Subscribe and share. Let's take back America, guys. All right, until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.